Good morning, Bucknutters. It is Tuesday, February 25th, 2025. I am Dan Rubin. This is the Bucknuts Morning 5 and Change. This podcast covers the national champions. I'll be joined here in just a minute by the great Bill Kurelic and Mark Porter. We're going to dive deep on some interesting recruiting topics. New names are emerging in 2026. Today, we're going to take a look at one of, if not the best running backs Ohio State is going after. Mark has broken down the film on Savon Hiter, Virginia native, highly recruited, and we will get to that. But first, you know Pat Murphy's in your ear when you're talking about Joy Mode, one of our great sponsors. Say goodbye to weakness in the bedroom now that you got access to Joy Mode's Sexual Performance Booster. It's an all-natural supplement designed to enhance and make you more reliable. But Joy Mode isn't just about sex. Daily use supports healthier blood vessels, boosts heart health, and enhances your athletic performance. Expertly formulated and backed by science, it's proven to improve your performance by 50% in just 60 days. Start a subscription and save up to 30%. Keep performance at the best without interruptions. It's time to take your game to the next level. Joy Mode's there for you. You got to visit their website, tryjoymode.com. That's all one word, tryjoymode.com. Use the code BUCKNUTS at checkout. 20% off single purchases, 30% off subscription orders. Easy for me to say. Tryjoymode.com again and use code BUCKNUTS for 20% off single purchases. All right. Talk about double trouble right here. The great Bill Kurelic, the great Mark Porter. Gentlemen, how goes it? I know Mark was doing football stuff over the weekend, 7-on-7. Bill, I assume you're grandparenting. How are you guys doing this fine day, Mark? Doing well? Your son's, I noticed he looked kind of smooth there for a guy who had a knee injury.
Yeah, following injuries and watching rehab is definitely something that's been painful, but it is nice to see the light at the end of the tunnel, get out of the cave and, go see other humans and interact. But yeah, these 7-on-7s, let me tell you, they're big and they're going to be huge. I mean, we're literally in the infancy of what I'm seeing on the road and been to a couple of them now. Boy, these teams are loaded with stars. Bill did a nice story on the 7-on-7 teams down south in Ohio. This stuff is going to catch fire, and it's off to the races over the next 2 or 3 years. I'm trying to think to myself, what will this look like in 5 years? And the site is, you think AAU basketball was big. Ohio's going to get everything they wanted and more.
I was going to say that anyone that has experience with AAU basketball and the business it has become, go check out Spooky Nook if you want to do that. I imagine the football people have looked over at the basketball people driving fancier cars in the high school and are like, we need those cars. Let's start an off-season thing to generate some revenue. And that is not – the genie's out the bottle. Bill, you got about 10 years till you've got a grandchild playing AAU football. How do you feel about that?
I'm not sure that well, I think – let me put it this way. I think one thing that will be – I am sure of is that it'll change over the next 10 years because the AAU circuit for basketball certainly has changed, as you well know, Dan, since, it's been about 10 years since I was coaching on that AAU basketball circuit. So changed a lot since then. And I'm sure that the football situation will be much the same.
Youth sports is no longer playing at the high school on the weekends with your friends on some team made up of kids from your neighborhood. It is a big business, and there's a vibe to get in there early and stuff like that. Speaking of getting in there early,
Dan, I was talking to a number of high school coaches recently, and one of them yesterday we were discussing how football high school coaches, how things have changed so much just in the last couple of years as far as football recruitment goes. And one of the things that has changed so much, if you go to our database on Bucknuts right now and you scroll and look for official visits, you're going to see a lot of official visits already locked in, set for Ohio State. And I've been doing this for, I guess, 37, 38 years. And I have never seen so many official visits locked in for schools, Ohio State in particular, as I have now, locked in early. I mean, we're not even to the end of February, and there are a lot of Ohio State official visits locked in. And that's one of the big changes, is that kids right now are locking in those official visits at such an early date.
Why do you think that is, Bill?
Well, I think NIL is certainly one of them. They're getting their NIL offers and doing their due diligence. Agents and lawyers and everything else are involved, and just the whole process has really sped up so much. And kids, in not all cases, but you've got the early signing period and all. Kids want to make their decisions now largely before they even start their senior football season. And what may be a factor in that is NIL. You get hurt your senior football season, you want to have things settled before then.
I think that's an excellent point. Once you put money into it and it's above the table, people tend to get a little bit more organized. So we'll deal with that. Bill, we got a couple guys we want to talk about specifically today. The second half of the show, we're going to open with our review of Savon Hiter. He's the first guy Mark has in Buckeye in the Sky this week. We are really getting rolling with our evaluations here, and you guys will see that Mark will provide you a perspective on these prospects that you cannot get in other spots. This is in addition to everything 24/7 does. We're the only ones with an in-house scout the caliber of Mark. So we're going to get to Savon Hiter, who I think has emerged as the top running back that we discuss. Whether he'll be the guy in the mix, we will see, and Bill will get into that. But Luke, I said Luke because that's my son's youngest name. I'm lucky I didn't call you guys by the dog's name. However, Luke Wafle, Bill, defensive end out of New Jersey, has set up an official visit. Looks to be a first off the bus type player. Tell us what you can about Luke Wafle and kind of how he got into the mix here.
Well, speaking of looks, if you go to our front page on Bucknuts right now, you'll be impressed by a couple of things regarding Luke Wafle. Take a look at his arms. They're well developed, to say the least. And if you look at the picture on our front page, you can see that he is 6'5.5", 245 pounds, and as a high school kid, someone going into his senior season and going to play defensive end at a school like Ohio State or Penn State or somewhere like that, 6'5.5" and 245 pounds is about the prototype weight you want a kid at, because he's going to be developed, and he'll be a lot more than that once he gets into college. So that's kind of the perfect prototype size. Also, the other thing to notice is his uniform. If you look at the uniform he's wearing right now, you would think that Luke Wafle, playing for the Hun School in Princeton, New Jersey, plays for Ohio State, because they have the same colors and the jersey. Everything looks a lot like Ohio State. So he has locked in an official visit to Ohio State. He's going to visit Ohio State the weekend of May 30th to June 1st. And that's not the first you can make an official visit to, but a lot of kids, that will be their first weekend for making official visits. It's the first weekend Ohio State is really using right now. So he's got that locked in. The other school that I'm sure he's going to make an official visit to is Penn State. I think those two schools right now may have a slight advantage at this early point. And he does like Ohio State. He was very impressed with Jack Sawyer, as you'll read about in the article, and what Jack Sawyer did during the playoffs. And Ohio State is recruiting him as a Jack Sawyer, JT Tui Moloau type player.
Mark, you have his video pulled up here. Go to work.
Yeah.
First time I've seen him.
Yeah, and that's me checking him out too. And Bill, as soon as you said Jack Sawyer, literally Jack Sawyer popped up on my screen playing here. I mean, similar measurements, similar style. That's what Jack Sawyer looked like in high school. So very apt thing here. he is that type of end that Jack
Oh.
Sawyer is. He's not an outside linebacker type. He's going to
Nice
be
first step.
hand in the dirt guy. Solid against the run. You can see the use of the hands there and the way he gets off the ball. Boy, ragdolling kids around in high school. This is someone that I can't wait to see in person. I even went to the front page of Bucknuts when Bill said his picture's there, and you got to check him out. Number one player in New Jersey makes a lot of sense to me after 4 or 5 clips. And it's really hard to find these defensive ends that are balanced. I'll try to use that word as someone who can stop the run and hang in there and definitely have the pass rush ability. This is definitely your dual threat defensive end.
Okay, so let's walk down memory lane here, as I know you guys want to do. The Hun School was an arch rival of the high school I attended, the Petty School in Hightstown, New Jersey. I was not a good football player and wanted to be a running back. And right on that field, our starting running back, I watched it, got his knee blown up. And they're like, Ruben, get in there. First carry, ran to the left, didn't do what I was supposed to. And I woke up on the sideline. I got hit so hard, I got knocked into the sideline and broke 2 ribs and never told anybody because I wanted to carry the ball the rest of the year. And the rest is history. We beat Hun. We actually played my senior year. We were both undefeated and we beat them. And it was called the best prep school game in history. Here's who was not on the other team at the time, Luke Wafle, because we would not have beaten them that even on there. But yeah, the Hun School, I mean, this guy's not going to struggle with academics if he gets in here. If you got a wealthy private school in your town, you see the teams that are playing like Avon Old Farms in Connecticut, and I'm trying to look and see what they're playing here. So interesting competition, but in terms of a physical specimen, Bill, he really is, I mean, off the charts. Why Penn State and Ohio State?
Well, I think they've both done a great job recruiting him. In Ohio State's case, he really is very impressed with Larry Johnson. As Larry Johnson is apt to do, he sends him Bible verses in the morning. He talks about development, what he can do at Ohio State. And it was there for the viewing in the playoffs. Who showed up in the playoffs, as well as anybody. Jack Sawyer and JT Tuimoloau certainly did. So, that Luke Wafle saw what he could potentially be if he becomes a Buckeye.
I'm glad you said that, Bill, because I do think that's going to be re-emphasized now as we get closer and closer to the draft. Keep in mind, a lot of the low-hanging fruit for these national, ESPN types for covering the draft, they want to cover guys that there's going to be a ton of Ohio State draft coverage because they know guys like Jack Sawyer and guys who Will Howard who have improved their draft stock. So every time they're talking about that, they should be good to go. Good stuff. All right. I think let's take a few questions and then we'll read another ad and then we'll get rolling here. Here's a good one. Any word on Braden Fogel, who I just saw recently, has been hooping it up and doing quite well. Tight end prospect has an offer, I think, from Georgia. What's the latest on Braden Fogel, Bill? And then, Mark, you can kind of chime in on that.
Not too much has changed, really. He's still evaluating schools. And the biggest thing is that Ohio State has not offered him a scholarship. And, I think if it doesn't take too long, I'm pretty sure that he will look at Ohio State. But right now, Ohio State hasn't offered him a scholarship. They've got a commitment from Corbin Fordham, the tight end from Florida, who is a really good player. And then they've got Max Suter scheduled for an official visit. I think that they will look at time. Well, I know they will look at 2 tight ends in their class, right? 2026 class at this point, but I don't think it's a certainty. You look at their tight end depth and it's pretty good as far as young guys. And, they don't need to press things for a tight end right now because they got one very good commitment already, and they have a legitimate shot at landing Max Suter.
That's really bad news because I think that there are 2 tight ends in Ohio this year that are as good as Brody Lennon from last year. I think Landon Myrie at Princeton is a heck of a receiving tight end. I'm not sure he's the blocker that Ohio State would like him to be, inline, true wide tight end that's going to cave down the end of the line of scrimmage. But his receiving skills are off the charts, and very similar with Braden Fogel. When I watched him play against West Holmes this year, he went off receiving the ball, and it was pretty much anytime there wasn't a safety over the top, tap for the fade and throw it up to the big basketball player with basketball skills. He runs really well. I think both of those guys are great defensive ends too, if they truly embrace the other side of the ball. You guys said a little bit ago, 6'5", 250. Just give me as many of those guys as you can get. Right. Body style. Yeah, these are two guys that are 6'5", 250 and run extremely well for their size. Now, the missing gap might be the blocking. They're both lined up as receivers, right, as much or more than they are inline tight ends. And I think this is just me being a former tight end, I get intoxicated by that when I got the lineup at receiver, and it started to make me think I was a step or two faster than I was, and that maybe I could do this, which it's just a lie. They just want you out there to block a smaller defensive back. But these guys really are something. And maybe if you said they're 70% receiving, 30% blocking, they're not 50-50 guys. I think they're a little more slated to that type. And to the receiving side. And if you know that about Ohio State, you have to block like a man-child to be in their offense. So if there is a hold-up, that may be it. But I do love both of these tight ends.
I wonder if he's waffling and thinking about playing basketball, because I know there was a vibe that he was going to do football, but maybe he's waffling. I don't know. It's interesting. All right, let's. And
one more thing is we've let Georgia and other schools get their hooks into him while we've waited to offer. So he's been down there, and I was told earlier in the year he could be heading south for his college career.
Listen, if you go visit Georgia, I'm sure it's an appealing visit. Let's just say it that way. Also appealing, Factor Meals. This is a great sponsor we've had, and they have been consistent from the start. You guys are buying these. People are taking advantage of this. So this is like the revolutionized TV dinner approach. And you can optimize your nutrition. Factor has chef-made gourmet meals and make eating easy. Dietitian approved, and this is key. Heat and eat in 2 minutes. Fuel right, feel great, no matter what life throws at you. There's all these different lifestyle-based stuff. If you're a keto person, you can do that. They got a trial you can go to. You can taste out keto stuff and work it out that way. 40 options actually across 8 dietary preferences. And you get a deal with us, of course. If you go to factormeals.com/factorpodcast, factormeals.com/factorpodcast, use code factorpodcast and get 50% off your first box plus free shipping. That's code factorpodcast at factormeals.com/factorpodcast to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. If you are considering this, I would take a chance because you can get a nice little routine going, and it is high quality stuff. All right, Bill, can you please tell us about Savon Hiter, who he is, why he's important, who else wants him, maybe compare him to guys they've recruited in the past. We're going to dive deep on Mr. Hiter.
Well, he's a 5'11", 5'11" to 6 foot, 200-pound running back from Mineral, Virginia, and he is as good as there is in the country. In fact, in the 247 Sports rankings, he's the number 1 running back in the country. He is a top 25 overall kid in the country. So, you're talking about an elite athlete. He has official visits set up to 4 schools right now, and good news is for the Buckeyes, Ohio State is one of them. And in fact, in memory of Dwayne Long, your first or the last visit is what you want. And as things stand right now, Ohio State has the first official visit from Savon Hiter. He, of course, has already been to Ohio State, but his official visits kind of tell the story in order right now. They are Ohio State, Georgia, Michigan, and at the end, Tennessee. So, it's a pretty good group, pretty good foursome. A lot of people feel like Michigan is the school to beat right now, so to speak. There are no crystal ball picks in for him, though. I think it'll come down to official visits. And, of course, that also with all great prospects, NIL is going to be involved. So, we'll see what happens. But he would be a great addition to this class, needless to say.
Who does he remind you of, Bill, when it comes to the Buckeyes?
Oh, wow. I don't like comparing kids really, but I guess, he's maybe a smaller version of Beanie Wells, I guess. I think he's that type of impact guy, but he's not as big as Beanie Wells was. I don't know if Mark has any thoughts on that, but I'll let him pick up on that and what he thinks.
Yeah.
Hold on. Savon Hiter, of course, will be the feature later today that you'll see of our Buckeye and the Sky. The way we're going to do this is we will give you a tease on these guys on the Tuesday morning show, and then you got to be subscription users to get the whole deal in the afternoon. Those of you last week got a chance to see the Chris Henry breakdown. That was free. It was kind of a tease to you guys to let you know what you're missing if you're not subscribing. So if you want the full breakdown on Savon Hiter, you must be a premium subscriber. Mark, take it away.
Yeah, when I put in this film, I think I remember watching his freshman or sophomore film and thought he was really good. I put in this film, and Dan, you must not have watched the Buckeye and the Sky I turned in. I couldn't praise this film enough. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. And Bill gave us comparison of Beanie Wells. I did see that bucking Bronco style a little bit of a Beanie Wells, but he's not nearly as thick and as big as Beanie. I think Beanie was a 220-pounder. Savon is college ready with 200 pounds of weight behind him, and I'm sure he's not even fully developed. Guys, when I pressed play on this, I started off with 3 defensive plays that are as good as any 3 defensive plays I've seen in a long time. And I'm going to say something crazy right now because I don't know that this is what we do on Bucknuts. I think if this kid was playing defense, he would draw Caleb Downs comparisons. Are you ready for this?
Wow.
Watch these 3 plays on defense and tell me how bad, if you're a defensive back coach, you want this kid on your side of the ball. He is explosive. He is powerful. He is athletic. Just go get that interception. Now watch this. Throw the defensive end down. Throw that guy down. Run for the touchdown. This next play is incredible. Throw off the blocker. Close down 4 yards. Miss the tackle. Throw him 5 yards back. Get up, form tackle him, and throw him down. Take on the offensive tackle right here. Throw him aside, and then go hip toss the running back like he's a ragdoll. Okay, now shot out of a gun. I mean, absolute sprinter speed. The power in his lower body, which is where you would probably go with the Beanie Wells comparison. Watch this. 2 guys have him dead to rights. No. Stiff arm ragdoll. Okay, 3 more guys over the top. Boom, boom. 4 more guys. No chance.
Stayed north, too, by the way.
This kid, I think he's running in the matrix. He takes a handoff different than most other running backs. That's how explosive he is getting out of the backfield. I haven't seen this type of short area quickness in a while, and I did a little research. His short area quickness and his first 10 yards in the 40 are off the charts. There is a reason this is the number 1 running back in the country. My comparisons, when you read the article, you might want to stop this, Dan, but it's impossible to stop. It's just such a fun film that I was watching.
No. You got to pay for that. You got to pay.
He is just off the
charts. Luke needs a new pair of shoes.
So Micah said Travion Henderson. I think he's a bigger, more powerful Travion Henderson. I'm looking at maybe a Jahmyr Gibbs type player with the way he is just sailing through these lines with that one cut ability. I mean, I really got excited about this, and I hope I've expressed that to everyone here. Now, Bill, he better not go to Michigan. When you said Michigan has the lead, I almost threw up in my mouth a little bit.
Wow. Again, I haven't said that. That's what the general feeling is. I don't know that I necessarily feel that way.
Boy, he really is impressive there. Bill, I know you already told me, what is he, 5'11", you said, about 205, 200?
5'11" to 6 foot, 200 pounds, and he's going to be 5'11" to 6 foot or so, and 225 or possibly more once he gets done with college.
Yeah, I mean, he's the prototype. So,
one of my things is, what type of development would he have in college? I'm scared if he gets any better. Like, he's already running through the matrix. We might have to name him the alien. I mean, he really – I was trying to question the competition, but there was some very quality competition. And a couple times, you could see some kids trying to run with him. But for the most part, he's just wiping them off the screen. So I really was taken back, and I did this late at night. I'm like, am I just a little tired and want to go to bed here? Am I in the dream state of my REM right now? But as you guys introduced him as number one running back in the country, and you know what? I've said this before. I don't look at the 24/7 rankings when I put in the tape. I go to the huddle and I watch it sight unseen, and it's nice after when I have this like, oh my gosh, this is something special, and then all of a sudden, every other expert in the country is like, yeah, this is something special. So this is going to be someone we got to fight for.
Can you guys put them in context with the guys they're considering in Ohio? Air, or I think I never say that. Is it Favor Air? I never say that.
Favor Aki.
Favor Aki. Why do I want to say Air? I don't know. Favor Aki. I'm writing that down right now. Favor Aki.
So,
and guys like that, can you kind of put them in context?
Yeah, so that's part of the eye in the sky thing. Is I'll give you a couple comps at the end and compare them to the kids in Ohio. Sean Alston from Painesville Harvey is headed to USC. Extremely impressive, offer list and head to USC. I don't think we've had a running back head to USC ever. I don't even think it's close between those two. And I put that in the article. It didn't even take me 2 seconds to say, which ones, whatever. Favor Aki, I like them. I think I like him as good as the Painesville Harvey kid, but they're not even in the same zip code as what I just watched on this film. And going back a couple of classes, maybe to the Travion Henderson running back film, a couple classes ago, was he, that I see a highlight film where I was like, jaw dropper. So I hope I'm not too far off the mark here. I hope I'm not, setting this up for failure, but what a great looking prospect. It's not fair to have Judkins and then Henderson and, prospects like this just rolling in. It's very impressive.
One good thing is too, he is from Virginia, and so is Travion Henderson. And we're getting back to the draft talk. Travion is rising up boards precipitously.
Guys, did you see that coming where everyone all year said Judkins would be the first back taken of the duo? And you're right, Dan. I've read more draft gurus that are saying Henderson's the guy. The speed is what the NFL wants. Not that Judkins is slow at all, but I thought that was a flip in those two. And it kind of didn't surprise me, but I was, a little bit like, okay, someone had the guts to make that call and say, hey, I don't see it the way everybody else is seeing it. So I'm seeing what you're seeing, Dan.
Here's what I believe is taking place.
Yeah, pass blocking is another good point. I just saw that brought up.
He has improved as a pass blocker, but what I think is happening, and that's helping Trey out a little bit, is that a few years ago, the Detroit Lions kind of surprised everybody by picking Jahmyr Gibbs in the first round. And then but then they use him as kind of the fire and ice combo with David Montgomery. And people have seen how successful that is. And then they just saw Travion Henderson do the exact same thing, essentially, for a team that won the title. And look, the beauty's in the eye of the beholder. Everyone saw that screen pass against Texas. There aren't many guys in the NFL who can go to the house like Travion can. Also, if you look back at all of Ohio State's biggest games, he usually made a big play in those games. You look at the Notre Dame game last year, he had a big touchdown. So it's very uncommon for guys to be able to hit home runs in the NFL. And then the blocking, like you guys said, he showed a couple times on tape that he has more. The big fear with a guy like Jahmyr Gibbs or third down back or the halfback type is, can they pass protect? Well, they just send a big linebacker at you and steamroll you. Well, he showed, first of all, he's been here for a while, so he's probably 22, 23 years old now. Got some old man strength in his rear. And he showed during the playoffs he can block. Now, if it's me and we're drafting for the Dallas Cowboys, who are going to pick a running back, I would prefer them to pick Judkins. I think Judkins is an every down back who can get the hard yards. I would not bet on anyone to be a home run hitter in the NFL. That's how hard it is. I like the guy who gets 8 yards on first down. Go ahead.
Judkins gives me an Emmitt Smith vibe. Does that make any sense? Judkins, Emmitt Smith, compact.
Same similar style. Sure. I would,
Yeah.
you're going to get struck by lightning for hubris.
Just as you said, Cowboys, I'm like, Judkins would kind of remind people of Emmitt Smith, a newer.
Here's what I love about Judkins. And I don't know,
me?
this is when it kind of crystallized for me. Do you guys remember? I think it was the game against. I think it was the championship game, but Judkins got the ball on about the 7-yard line, and there's a couple guys in front of him, and I thought to myself, touchdown. No matter what those two dudes do, he is getting in the end zone at this point. And that's what I like. I like a guy who's got that, he's just a little bit crazy and got a nose for the end zone, more of an every down back. But I'll say this, not going to hurt the Buckeyes to have these guys draft. I cannot get back to this enough. Every guy who comes to Penn State, and I talk to Mr. Bucknuts about this all the time, he does not follow the NFL. He does not care about it. Every single guy who comes to Ohio State thinks he's going to the NFL. Every single one. Am I wrong about that? Do you guys think I'm wrong about that?
No, that's they all do, no doubt.
Okay. So you better tell them how they're going to get there. I mean, that's why you go to college. So believe me, winning the Michigan game is great. Showing a guy he can be a first-round draft pick, it's far more important to a family looking to secure their kid for the future. So I want to get that across. This draft is going to be enormous for them. 15 guys picked, and they're going to tell you a million times that the two best guys on the team aren't even going to get picked because they're coming back. So things are good. And let's go on that. Okay. Derrick Cooper's a name that's coming up, Bill. Why is that name coming up? Can you address it, or did I just ambush you?
No, he's one of the top running backs in the country. There's no question. He's out of Florida. He is, like I said, one of the top running backs in the country. Right there with as far as rankings, right there pretty much with Savon Hiter. Has been interested in Ohio State and has been to Ohio State. But I don't have the feeling that Ohio State has the chances with Derrick Cooper that they do with Savon Hiter.
Good to know. Mike Schaefer, Quinchon getting caught from behind the title game cost him money, tougher on the goal line. No, it may have, and Henderson would have scored for sure. But my thing is, in the NFL, if you're playing for 60-yard runs, not the easiest thing to do in the world. My favorite thing in the world is 2nd and 2. I like the guy right up the middle for 8 yards on first down. That is the winning football in the NFL. All right. See any more questions here? Otherwise,
right. You're looking there, Dan. Savon Hiter is ranked as the number 1 running back in the country, and Derrick Cooper is ranked as the number 4 running back in the country in the 247 Sports rankings. So, like I said, he's right there. When you're in the top 4 or 5 guys at your position in the country, you're in rarefied air.
Mika being realistic as usual in all caps. Derrick Cooper is great plays, everything, want both. Here's one thing I can virtually guarantee you. They won't get both. Although it is Ohio State, so nothing is totally out of the question. All right, here, let's see. We'll get one more question in here and then we'll go. Bill, maybe you can tell everybody, we've been doing a lot of Tyler Bowen offer list. He's offered a lot of offensive linemen. One of the guys that we're going to discuss later in the week is Micah Smith. So let's dive deep on him a little bit here. He's an offensive lineman from Vero Beach. Like I said, next up in Buckeye in the Sky. Same high school as Tarvis Alford. And you see relatives with Ohio State gear on in pictures. He's been here several times. They have a warm medium there with Alford. What's your thoughts on Smith, and put in context maybe how good you think he is relative to the other guys they're recruiting on the offensive line and Ohio guys?
Well, to say he's been to Ohio State a few times might actually be an understatement. He's been to Ohio State, and we're talking about a kid from Vero Beach, Florida. We're not talking about a kid from Wooster, Ohio. He's from Vero Beach, Florida, and he's been to Ohio State almost a half dozen times already. I think you can legitimately say the interest is strong there. Now, as I put in the story yesterday on Bucknuts, he had a great relationship with Justin Fry. So Justin Fry leaving did not help the cause, really. But he is very impressed with Tyler Bowen, and that is going well. In talking to Micah Smith's coach yesterday, Lenny Jankowski, the head coach of Vero Beach, Lenny Jankowski feels like, not much has really changed overall with Micah Smith and his interest in the Buckeyes. I expect Micah hasn't gone into scheduling a lot of official visits yet. And I do expect him to schedule one to Ohio State. He also, as of now, it looks like he's going to go through with his plan to get back to Ohio State in the spring for spring practices, maybe the spring game, that type of thing, and then an official visit as well. So Ohio State is one of his top choices. There's no doubt about that. He is one of the top, I know Ohio in the 247 Sports rankings, he is a top 10 offensive lineman in the country, and he's about 6'5" and a half, and 300 plus pounds, and just really, really good. From the same high school, by the way, Vero Beach High School, as current Buckeye class of 2025 signee TJ Tarvis Alford. So that probably doesn't hurt the cause either. So his family has been to Ohio State. It's going to be a battle. Miami's in there among many other schools, but Ohio State is right there. And I don't think Ohio State really trails anybody right now necessarily for Micah Smith.
Micah Smith and Jackson Cantwell called it a day with the out-of-state guys. Filter in some Ohio guys, win the national championship. All right, last question is about the running back in Ohio. I had his name written down here. Hold on one second. No, I got it. I looked it up. Grady Kinsey from Indian Valley. 5'9", 200, has 7 D1 offers and a 4.2 GPA. Will he have an 8th offer from the Ohio State Buckeyes, Mark?
Yeah, well, we're looking at national running backs. Now you see what's on the national level, the 1st and 4th ranked running back. Don't think he's a Buckeye offer, but boy, what a story. The Indian Valley team made a heck of a run in the playoffs. He was more than an integral part of it. He has an awesome highlight film for an Ohio running back. And, he's a maybe top 7 running back in Ohio in that ballpark. I'm looking at this list. There's some kids on here. CJ Newell from Glenville is a great running back. He may be going to defensive back. Kinsey is your hard-nosed runner. That 200-pound, 5'9", he is a compact guy. If you get a chance, he has an outstanding highlight film. But the offers he has right now is a very solid offer list coming from Indian Valley. At camps this summer is where he would have to lay down that 40 time that just – okay, that would legitimize him, because on film, obviously the competition in Ohio isn't the greatest, in some of the teams he's playing against, and he does to them what he should. He dominates it, but you don't get a great gauge for how fast is he really. That may come this summer. Wouldn't rule it out. Would be the perfect type of kid if you could get him to walk on at Ohio State, and he may actually earn it. He's one of those kids that's going to probably earn some playing time in college, just based on the toughness factor and the way he carries the ball. But we have some good running backs in Ohio, and I wish we could take all of them and put a fence around everybody. But after watching that Hiter film, there isn't anybody I would take over him.
Yeah, it's become kind of cliche, but in recruiting circles, there's all these buzzwords that come up, or buzz phrases. And one that I've adopted recently is having small school guys, you want to see them walk on water before you even do anything. And he sounds like he can do that. Yeah. Very impressive. All right. I think we've exhausted our brains for today. Micah's in agreement. Almost 40 minutes. So we cheated you out of one minute for free there. But we will be back on Thursday. And like I said, later today, those of you, if we did not wet your whistle enough for Savon Hiter, I don't know what we did, but that'll be up later today. And then later this week, we'll have Micah Smith, and we'll dive deep on him on Thursday for Friday's show. And then we'll go from there. But keep it locked into Bucknuts. The Dean is on the case. Have a good one. Bucknutters.